Vyse has been listed as the 26th agent added to the protocol on different wikis, articles, and on her ID badge, meaning that those Agent 8 theories may be put to rest. Have no fear though, where one door of delusions closes, another opens, and there's a lot of hidden backstory with Vyse and others on the protocol like Omen and Viper. We'll go over their possible origins, personalities, goals, relationship with others, and some theories surrounding the vengeful Vyse.
Adapt or die! Bring me the arsenal!
Even though Vyse may look like she's from another world, I believe she's a human, or at least once was human. In fact, she was most likely a scientist/researcher based on these voice lines.
Practice is easy, safe, sterile. This is where you are truly measured. No more theory. I love it when our competition embraces chaos theory and makes the same mistakes expecting different results. I studied robotics for a time, but I've never seen anything like you, KO. Remarkable.
When it comes to researching the scientific process, we can assume that Vyse once wore many hats. Robotics just by itself requires people to have knowledge in many areas like math, engineering, mechanics, electronics, sensory feedback, mechanisms, and programming. I'm sure I'm missing other skills needed, but I think you get the point. The same is true with the mention of chaos theory. It's a branch of science that studies the non-linear and unpredictable nature of our universe. It is the idea that some massive systems like weather or the movement of planets all can be affected by a tiny change. And guess what? It's another area of science where you need to know about other academic activities to truly understand its concepts. Shoot, through many of Vyse's voice lines, you can tell that she thinks in zeros and ones quite often.
Success is the only axis that matters. Ability, dedication, time. That's all we need. Control the space, control their choices.
Basically someone who focuses on the cause and effect, what is needed to get the goal achieved regardless of human elements like feelings and morals getting in the way.
I feel no empathy for them. What does that say about me? Don't answer. It was rhetorical.
It reminds me of a few movie scientists who are obsessed with their work and use sophisticated language to express their inner thoughts. And through a few of her voice lines, we can get a very egotistical mindset from time to time.
I deserve this. We deserve this. I demand what I'm owed.
As well as the idea that she might be a bit of a control freak, with this slight jab at Brimstone.
Their Brimstone will learn what real leadership looks like.
And I guess we can say Vyse is another Valorant Protocol member who once worked for Kingdom. Just as a reminder, Kingdom does not fund the Valorant Protocol. Who does? We're not entirely sure.
So this is the project that sapped my funding all those years ago. Looks like it worked out well for you, Kingdom.
Her appearance still resembles that of a human till you get to her face. Here's when the idea of her being something more than human can pop into some other people's heads. We don't know what she looks like under this helmet. It could be used to hide something, a freak accident perhaps, or a device needed for her to live. Maybe a bit of both.
You can't see my face right now, but just know, I'm smiling.
I'm personally putting my money on the idea that she was doing experiments to progress the human condition.
Adapt or die!
To evolve her or us as a species, which caused her to look the way she does now. At least that's what I got from the whole ruling the world voice line.
I'll drag this world forward by my damn self. This world will be one that I make. I have the vision. I am the means.
Of course, this is just a theory. And even though her name is spelled V-Y-S-E, there are still multiple meanings of the word Vyse in the English dictionary. Obviously, you have the idea of a vice grip, which could be related to her abilities. The fact that once she has something caught, she won't let it go. Or you can think of it as one of her character traits, that once she has a goal in mind, she won't let it go. And Vyse can also mean moral depravity or corruption, something that we already pointed out about her. And one last definition that I do want to bring up is the fact that Vyse can mean a physical imperfection, which could be related to her helmet, as she could be hiding this physical imperfection. We see in her agent cinematic that orange gas is expelled from her helmet, as well as tubes being connected to each other. This leads me to think that a complex exchange of things is going on here. But my question is, how does Vyse eat? Or does she even need to? And how much of her body is this liquid metal? Is it just her brain that's organic and all the metallic liquids are just connected to her? Like, is she just choosing to resemble a human? And possibly could she turn into a metal puddle if she wishes? It kind of reminds me of scientists who think silicon-based life could exist. Same with certain acids, which could be a byproduct of various metals forming with complex structures with oxygen. And speaking of metal though, Vyse seems to have a mastery of it. The in-game files like to describe her abilities like Razorvine and Shear as liquid metal that she can fire at will and change shape. All her abilities are based on Vyse's control of this liquid substance. Kinda makes me wonder how Arc Rose can blind people. Maybe it has something to do with friction. Deadlock does mention the alloy that they receive from the damage containment unit is carbon based, but infused with incredible amounts of radianite. Regardless, Valorant has its very own metal bender, which we have seen her manipulate many times in teasers, especially when relating to the Scions of Hourglass. It's no secret by now that we know that she hates them. She was going on a generational run of vengeance according to Jet.
Hey, good news. We've been able to track the escapee. It led us straight through 2 more Hourglass hideouts. I'm at the latest one now, or what's left of it. Damn, these Scions didn't stand a chance. What this prisoner did to Hourglass, it's vicious. And she's getting better at it. Mastering her powers as she goes. I don't know if this is revenge or a vendetta or she's just a monster or what. I'm gonna send over some videos of the handiwork. You should brace yourself.
We can directly hear from her how much she dislikes the Scions.
If it were up to me, I'd have Raze rig this place with explosives and send it crashing into the void.
It's clear that she's on the Valorant protocol because they have a mutual opposition towards them. It is hinted that she joined the protocol after Omen interrogated her. And all of this kind of makes sense, you know? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. What is really interesting though is that the Scions didn't end her. We know from Viper that this organization are no strangers to giving people a one-way ticket to the afterlife.
Follow me here, I'm working the problem. Just wanted a sounding board, but your voicemail will do. Hourglass tried to kill me. Why? Logically, there's only one answer. My research. They wanted to prevent humanity from discovering radianite. So they send Omen to kill me, he fails, First Light happens, and everything changes. That all tracks. Hourglass has failed. But they keep working. They send operatives around the world to recover radianite artifacts. Why? What are they still hiding? There must be something, Brimstone. There has to be more, for Omen's sake. For mine. Call me back.
So why did they keep her alive as a prisoner instead? Does Vyse have something that they want or know? Or did they find the task a bit difficult? And since her abilities are closely related to plant life, at least in the outward appearance, it makes sense that extreme cold could weaken her a lot, since a lot of plants struggle in cold climate, while some others can't survive in it. You also have to remember that most metals become less malleable in cold temperature as well. They usually get stiffer and harder to mold as the temperature drops. Also, in one of her chapter rewards, we see that she's reaching out to something or someone. These player cards usually give us hints to a character's past. And I want to say these individuals look like the henchmen of the Scions of Hourglass that we saw in the Abyss trailer. I could be wrong though. I see some fire in the background too, which could be another weakness of hers. Plant life and fire don't really mix well together. However, her metallic properties might tell us a bit different. She could very well thrive in it for all we know. Regardless, it's been revealed that the Scions of Hourglass chose to freeze her with liquid nitrogen, which makes sense since the first ever teaser of her was at the end of the Abyss trailer, when several stray bullets hit her containment unit. And in Deadlock's email to Brimstone, she does mention that the alloy that they found, the same alloy most likely belonging to Vyse, is rendered inert when exposed to extreme cold. So I can imagine she's not a fan of Icebox. Just like how she's not the biggest fan of Brimstone and thinks poorly of his leadership, or at least likes to question it and challenge his position.
Say you hadn't founded Valorant, Brimstone. Do you think you'd still get in now? Do you think you have something the rest of us don't? Aside from experience, of course.
She's basically saying that if Viper or someone else started the protocol, would Brimstone even be on the team? That basically all he brings to the table is experience, which I personally think is a great qualification to have. I made a lore video on Brimstone if you want to check him out and his past. And speaking of Viper, she also has a strong backstory with the second in command.
Just like old times, Viper. Oh, Sabine. How did we both change careers and still end up working together? So long, Sabine.
It takes a lot of balls to not only be casual with Viper, but also to forget the doctor in Dr. Sabine.
You know, Viper, The name Sabine really fits you.
Never call me that again. If you do, though, it's Dr. Sabine, get it right.
It is surprising that we haven't heard a similar reaction from Viper. Does she just respect Vyse a lot? Does Viper possibly even know who this might be, or is the helmet throwing everything off? The only people on the protocol she doesn't demand the doctor part in Sabine is from Brimstone and Omen.
Don't die here, Sabine. I need your secrets.
They're the future, Sabine. You know you care about them.
They are considered very close to Viper, or at least have known her the longest.
We saved the world once, Sabine. I don't doubt that we can do it again.
The fact that Vyse says that they saved the world together once before makes me think that it was in the past. But we have to remember that time travel and dimension hopping is never out of the question either. If it was from a past mission, then it was most likely before an accident changed Viper from a healer to more of a monster like Omen.
Just think, Sabine. You used to heal with your skill. Funny.
I am your monster. You made me this way. Never forget that.
Sabine, look at the monsters we've become. At least you have flesh to hide your horror.
You wanted a villain? I gave you a villain.
One thing that is quite stark between the two is that they are very, and I mean very similar to each other. Maybe it's a scientist thing, they both think very pragmatically and in ones and zeros.
Use my poison to your advantage. I don't deploy it for kicks. Success is the only axis that matters. Fascinating. I must record this feeling.
I appreciate Breach's tactics.
Well done, Breach. I knew hiring you was a good idea. You're a disruptive one, Breach. But that's welcome here. Go rattle their heads for us.
Are high on Omen's capabilities.
I never tire of watching you work, Omen. Keep being their nightmare, old friend.
Had run-ins with the Scions of Hourglass.
Hourglass tried to kill me.
Worked for Kingdom.
So this is the project that sapped my funding all those years ago. Looks like it worked out well for you, Kingdom.
Aren't always the biggest fan of Brimstone's leadership and plans.
Don't tell me what to do, old man. Someone will die, no matter how fancy our strategy. Their Brimstone will learn what real leadership looks like.
And look amazing in masks. Now this is a maybe and a big maybe. What if Viper in the past thought the only thing that's better than one Dr. Sabine is two, and Vyse could possibly be a clone of Viper? Yeah, I know, this is a really out there theory, and I don't really believe it in myself either, especially after the whole Isa Omen frenzy that a lot of people wanted to be real, but turned out wasn't. But it's still fun to theorize stuff anyways. However, just like Viper, she does appreciate Breach's crude yet effective methods of getting the job done, similar to Reyna as well.
Tactically sound, practically proficient. Fine work, Reyna.
The same is true of Omen.
I never tire of watching you work, Omen. This isn't fair. Being forced to fight Omen. But this isn't a fair world.
Makes me think what history the two have together and how much will be revealed from their talk. I do want to mention that she does like to poke fun at times and makes a pretty good point about KJ's fashion sense.
They brought weapons made of metal to kill me. Ironic. So, you use explosives to propel yourself, Raze. That's creative. I think I like it. They call their killjoy a genius. And yet here she is, walking into a battlefield wearing bright yellow.
This just goes back to Vyse's nature of someone who very much thinks in ones and zeros. Like how she knows that Clove can't stay dead, but there are other ways to render her a non-factor in the battlefield.
I can't end their Clove, but I can break their spirit.
Overall, as we saw in her trailer, Vyse brings a lot of usefulness to the team, but the question now is, can she play well with others? Having a common enemy with the Scions of Hourglass will help with that. There is still much that we need to know about her, like how did she end up like this? You guys let me know down below what other theories you have about Vyse, and I'll be yapping in the next one. Stay safe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and be a KDA warrior. And I'll see you later.